host, Nick Smith.
And Kylie Jo Smith, and today's episode is called Stranger Danger.
Myths and misunderstandings surrounding child safety. But before we jump into it too deep, we want to shout out our Patreon people. If you are not one of our Patreon people, then you're not getting early content. You're not getting bonus content. But you are getting this on Sunday, so that's cool.
Good. That's awesome.
But
good for
if you become a Patreon supporter, you can get early access. You can get other stuff. And we got new merch going to be coming out, so you'll get to preview that. It's going to be awesome. Check us out.
Yeah. So
also, hold on. Also, we got to shout out our Academy of Dreamers.
Of course.
So if you're part of the Academy of Dreamers collaboration of artists, share this video, show us some love, and we will give you a shout out. Also, Consumed by Fire, wearing their shirt. What's up? So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And also in trending news, see, we haven't done this before. I feel so weird saying that because we're not
in trending news.
We're not one of.
It's fine.
What'd you say? Kind of podcast we are. But I wanted to tell you guys about Honey Pot.
Honey Pot.
And even I hope just by me saying this,
like
and
Winnie the Pooh.
I guess maybe, I don't know, but no, this is actually a company. This is a really great company that creates products. It is part owned by a Black woman, and she had this ad that came out that Target did during Black History Month, which we know we have an issue with companies targeting ads during that month.
Target ads, targeting ads.
Exactly.
I get you. I see what you did.
But it was a really cool ad. You should go watch it. And she says like she wants the success of her company so that any Black girls that come after her will know that they can do it too.
That's awesome.
Well, if you saw the craziness that ensued after that,
people
got mad, people had their feelings, and we just did an episode about this. They were in their people were saying some mean
What were they mad about? What are they upset about?
One of the things that I read,
because she says I'm about Black people.
Yep, because why does it have to be Black? Why can't it just be women? And we talked about this too.
See?
And I was like, y'all need to listen to our episode. So go watch the ad. We just talked about this, guys. Feel your feelings, but you're still wrong.
But you can still be wrong. It's okay. You can be mad and wrong. You're good.
Yes. And speaking of feelings, I feel some type of way.
What do you feel?
About my single release.
Y'all, okay, listen. Okay. Kylie Jo's single is coming out. The single is called Save Me.
Yes.
It will be released on all streaming platforms. We're going to start pre-orders soon.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know. We'll let you know when pre-orders start. But her single release is going to be at Pack City Church in Wichita, Kansas on April 4th.
Yes, it's a Saturday. So it's like the perfect time. Like you could totally plan a date night.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be early in the evening. So you can come. It's at 5 p.m. at Pack City Church in Wichita, Kansas. So
yeah, tell all your friends.
Tell everybody.
Family friendly. Bring the kids.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. So along with that, just remember to pre-order the Make America Kind hat. It should be popping up here on our screen.
Yeah, you'll see it. It's going to be actually this brand of hat, not this marking.
Well, that's a pretty sturdy hat.
This is a nice hat. I actually really like
this hat. It's
embroidered.
Like, it's nice.
It's going to be very similar to this with the embroidery. And it's also going to have NXM podcast on the side.
It is. And it's available for a short time.
Yes, pre-orders are open now. What's going to happen is once we close pre-orders, which is going to be on the 22nd of March, then we're going to get them embroidered and get them shipped out as quick as they come in.
We will hand embroider them ourselves.
That's
just
not
kidding.
true. Don't let her lie to y'all. I'm not embroidering.
No.
So that's coming. Make sure you go to NixMythPodcast.com and get your pre-order on.
This whole sequence is making me realize, number one, we don't see a lot of commercials anymore. We don't, because we don't watch a lot of TV.
No.
But also, you know what, like the announcement voice you would hear when like a PSA would come on TV that was like, do you know what's in your neighborhood? Like, like those kind of things.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
Right.
Do you remember that commercial?
I don't remember that one very much.
It came on, I think, Evening News. It's like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
How creepy is that?
I know. And I'm like, I'm right here. But I didn't have kids at the time, so it didn't
so you're like, I'm
chilling.
But like, we don't see PSAs. Like that's not a thing.
No.
Commercials are, but
you know what
PSAs.
I remember? So speaking of that, I remember as a kid watching G.I. Joe and dating myself a little bit, but watching the cartoon G.I. Joe, and at the end of every cartoon they would have a PSA, and it would be about different stuff, about like not drinking chemicals under the sink, or like not playing with fireworks, or like all this different stuff, very important for kids. But it would be at the end of every show, and then they would have knowing is half the battle. That was their thing. Knowing. And then what happened when I was in college, I remember coming across, I don't remember if it was College Humor or what, somebody took these old PSAs and they overdubbed comedic voices. Cracked me up. I remember watching these cracking up. But it was only effective because I remember the PSAs.
Yeah.
I remember watching these. Oh, for those of you who don't know, PSA stands for public service announcement.
Oh, yeah.
I just realized.
People don't know what that is.
Because they don't watch them anymore.
Yeah. And they were usually like, it wasn't like a government thing always. It was like for public health and safety.
Yeah.
And so it was to kind of educate people in little blips, like enough to keep their attention.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you could start a conversation in your family and it would continue. But
well, and they used to do PSA episodes. Do you remember of like sitcoms? No, like every sitcom had a PSA episode where it was like, this is why drinking and driving is
it was like a
dangerous.
Big,
yeah. And they used to have all these after school PSAs because the first thing kids did when they came after school,
turn on the TV,
turn on the telly. And what's in telly? Am I British? Why did I say telly? I don't know what happened.
Turn on the telly.
that just
clicker.
Slipped right on out. Been hiding it from y'all. I'm British.
That was weird.
It's they would turn on the boob tube.
Nope.
They'd turn on the box.
They'd turn on the TV.
The TV.
The
television. Well, one of the ones they used to talk about a lot was like stranger danger. And that's where we got the concept for today's episode is they don't talk about that anymore.
No.
And I remember seeing commercials in between my my cartoons where they would say, hey, if somebody tries to lure you into their vehicle, say no.
You know what other TV show did that I just thought of? Popeye.
Popeye
really? Used to, because I remember watching one. It's like the old ones.
Yeah.
It was all animated, and then they would have like, I remember the one I watched with the kids one day it was a PSA for vaccines, and it talked about why vaccines.
Important.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, if you know anything about like historically, like vaccines were kind of, for some diseases, they were really, really new at a certain point. And I can't remember which one it was that they were specifically encouraging.
Who knows, polio or
it may have,
something.
I don't know. But a cartoon even, like they used it for kids. It was right at the end. Yeah. There's a little blip. But it made me think like, okay, so we have this huge hype right now about the coronavirus. Like people are, like there's so much misinformation or there's information we don't know if we can trust because some of us are conspiracy theorists. And so
me too.
We see a lot about it, but then I flew this week. I had to go and do work with the
Academy.
And
boy, are my arms tired.
Right. It was exhausting.
Anyway.
But I noticed like in the airport where a lot of international travelers were, I was in an international airport, didn't see a lot of crazy hype about the coronavirus. Just going to say it. Didn't see a lot of masked people.
Yeah.
And I totally felt safe.
Good.
I felt healthy.
Good. Awesome.
I also noticed while I was traveling, the number of small children that in the airport were either unsupervised or were just like let loose in that space. And I remember like,
what is
and
going
as a
on?
mom, there was a baby. I finished my dinner. I was in Denver International Airport, and this mom was like walking with her child, her little, I think she's probably 2 years old.
Okay.
And this little girl
The child, not the mom.
Yes, the child. She like runs up to my bag because she saw my hand sanitizer bottle was like bright colored, and she was trying to grab it. And her mom, as she's running up to me and like with her hand extended, and I look at her and I smile, her mom's like, "Oh, no, thank you, honey. No, thank you." And like goes to like gently, gingerly move her away. And I was like,
what if you'd have been a creep?
Right. I was like, I'm not a predator. And I know we're in the airport. I'd already made it to the terminal.
Yeah, so you went through security and all that.
Right. So like, and I'm not going to just run off with this child. But at the same time,
you never know.
You really don't. And like, there have been people, there have been adults who've been abducted at the airport.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking.
Common thing.
Right. And after this was after this whole thing happened. I'm like, oh, what a cute little girl and blah, blah, blah. This little baby is like in the aisle, where people are walking back and forth to go to their different gates.
Yeah.
And the mom is standing off to the side, and this baby is just, now I may be a helicopter mom. I may be one of those parents.
You're not, but that's okay.
I was like, I'm just thinking in my mind, I'm always measuring the risk of some of those interactions.
Yeah, that's all I do. Like,
I know you do. I don't even do it as well as you do.
All I do is calculate risk. I feel like when we're in public, you know what it reminds me, and this was before we had kids, when we went to New York City, and some people love New York City, and those people,
it's beautiful.
Man, there's like an energy and there's a vibe, and people just love it. I am not one of those people. I'm an LA person through and through. Like I'm a
Right.
California kid. And when we were in LA, there were just too many people, or not LA,
New
sorry,
York.
New York, too many people too close to me and walking too
Mm.
fast and
And I
everything
was
around.
pregnant, and you're like,
And
don't bump my wife.
yes, and we had your little sister who was what,
Yes.
16 at the time,
And my
15,
little brother.
and
Yeah.
he was 19, 18, 19. And so the
Mm-hmm.
whole time I'm on super dad mode and I'm just uber vigilant, and every person I'm assessing risk like, okay, is this person a threat? No, is this person? No, is this person a threat? Okay, where's everybody at? Like
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can go out into this world. And again, I don't live in fear. It's not a fear
Right.
that I have,
Right.
but I still have to calculate the risk of everything that's going on, because how can you live in a world where so many people are getting abducted, where so many people are getting sex trafficked, where so many people are
Mm-hmm.
getting murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and not just think about your situational awareness and
Right.
not just be like, okay, who's around me? What's going
Right.
on?
Well, and it comes from like what we address is like myths and misunderstandings. We have so many of these things that whether it's a lie that we've been told or it's just like a coping mechanism, so we don't really have to deal with some of those difficult things, we
Hmm.
start to believe these myths and we accept these misunderstandings as like, well, I guess, like I'm in an airport, I'm pretty safe. I think we're okay.
Yeah, you
And
see people with badges, so clearly everything's okay.
right. And we don't think about like people are broken
Yeah.
in every environment. And I
Well,
mean, one of the things like with that, we had those two recent stories of those little girls
yeah,
that were
yeah.
abducted. And I
It happens
believe,
so often, but
yeah,
yeah.
if I remember right, it was within 24 hours of their abduction
Hmm.
that I believe both coroners released that their body that they were deceased within 24 hours of
Wow.
abduction.
Lord bless them.
Like this is a this should be a startling reality to us. This should
Yeah.
be something as parents that we're like, okay, we need to. And both of them happened. One of them was with Cupcake McKinney.
Hmm.
She was at a birthday party
Yeah. I
with
remember
other
that. Yeah.
kids and other adults around.
Yeah. Got snatched right in front of some other kids.
Right. And then with the other little girl, I cannot remember her name, Lord forgive me. She was in her front yard. And
Wow.
like this is reality. And so we can't
Wow.
think that
Well,
we're immune to it, I
yeah.
guess.
Well, people think that it's not going to happen to them. It's
Mhm.
always, I mean, if you think about, and I'm guilty of this with wearing my seatbelt. When I'm just driving around the corner,
It's true.
sometimes that
It's
ding
true.
goes off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to put my seatbelt on. And it's not because I don't understand that there's danger, but I think, "Oh, I'm fine. It's not going to happen to me. Like I
Yeah.
can
I know this
understand.
area.
Yeah, I can assess what's going on. But so many people, they start operating in this comfort zone of, it's not going to happen to me. My kid knows better. No one's going to
Yeah.
mess with my kid, and no,
Mm.
that's just not going to happen to me, because that's stuff that happens to other people.
Yeah.
And all these parents who have lost children due to abductions, they thought it wasn't going to happen to them as
Yeah.
well.
And many of them have said that. Like I
Yeah.
didn't think it could happen in this community or this neighborhood
Yes.
or once they find out who was guilty of the abduction, I didn't think this person
Yeah,
would
there's
ever
no
do this.
way it would
Yeah.
be someone in my community. And
Yeah.
so living in a small town, and a lot of people
Mhm.
live in isolated communities within large cities. So
Yeah.
like not
Suburbs.
even suburbs, but like covenant communities and
Oh, yeah,
gated
yeah.
communities,
Yeah.
and even really tight knit neighborhoods. You think about Wichita, and there's like different neighborhoods. You're
Mhm.
like, where people
Yeah,
live.
like College Hill
Yeah,
and yeah,
College Hill,
yeah.
Schweiter Park, like all that
Yeah.
stuff. And you think like, well, I know everyone in this neighborhood, so it's not going to happen here. And
Mm.
there's this really bad um, veil over people's
Yeah.
eyes, that they think that just because they're comfortable, that bad things can't happen to them.
Mhm.
And like the falsehood that small communities are safe, that small towns are safe, that covenant communities are safe. Like nothing is safe from the brokenness of sin.
Right.
And there are broken, hurting people that are tormented, that are oppressed, spiritually
Mhm.
oppressed, that are spiritually possessed.
Yeah.
Like there are people that are dealing with a lot of mess, and they look just like you and me.
Right.
And they live right next door to people, and they've got neighbors, and they grew up in certain neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and sometimes people just snap, and they're just
Yeah.
weird, and you don't
Yeah.
understand. They're weird. And so we
Yeah.
can't live in um this state of exceptionalism that it won't happen to me.
Yeah, it's almost denial too,
It
because we
is.
see it happen in the world and we think we are I mean, we are set apart from the world, but like we're still
Yeah.
living in it.
I think that comes from being honestly a safe American. There's this, I
Oh,
can't remember
yeah.
who said it. I don't remember if it was a president. I'm spacing. Y'all forgive me, but
Oh,
um,
I'm telling.
they're gonna hear it. But
Oh.
it said someone was like, "Yeah, the America's at war," and
Mhm.
someone responded, "No, the Marines are at war. America's at the beach." And so there's this
Wow.
concept that
Yeah.
everything happens away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're so safe. We think about when people live in danger, it's always them. It's always the poor people. It's always the other
Mm-hmm.
people, third world countries, across
Bad
the ocean.
parents.
Yeah, it's other
Mm-hmm.
people. It's not us. We're wealthy. We're secure. We're whatever. We're smarter.
Mm-hmm.
We have more
We have
technology.
guns.
Yeah, we have all of these things. None of this is enough to stop bad things from happening.
Yeah. So, and honestly, in the church, we get that a lot.
Yeah.
We think, I mean, the understanding, I mean, the church should be a safe place.
Yeah.
But many of us who have been hurt in the church would tell you that, well, emotionally, it's not. People who've been abused physically in the church would say,
Yes.
it's not safe. I
Wow.
feel trauma going in there. And so,
Wow.
like, even that, even thinking, well, we're at church. And we know, I mean, we know personally stories of abuse happening under the safety
Guys.
net and guise of church safety.
Yeah.
And so we really have to remove that naivete, I guess you would say, from ourselves of like, we're safe here. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
we're in the airport. We're at our terminal. We're at our gate or whatever. No,
Yeah.
like
Your kid can get snatched right from up under your nose.
right. Like, and it's not in a fearful, like a fear mongering type of way of like, be careful. Everyone's going to steal your child. It's not that.
No.
It's just understanding that we as people are broken.
Yeah. And you have to live with a sense of morbidity. Now, forgive me. I don't mean morbidity like
Mortality?
I think both.
Okay.
But like you have to understand your mortality
Mm-hmm.
and you have to understand that bad things do happen in reality, like that there is a sense of morbidity around you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know that that's real. And I think that's kind of the beginning of acting and judging situations wisely.
Yeah.
Because you're bulletproof when you're, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Nothing bad can happen to me. You're bulletproof when you're wealthy. You're bulletproof
Hmm.
when you've got a gun on you. Nothing bad's going to happen because I got my pistol on me.
Yeah.
But the truth is, when you understand that nothing that you can control can stop something outside of your
Yeah.
control from happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing within
Yeah.
the bounds of this person here
Mm-hmm.
can stop a bad situation from coming my way.
It's true.
And so, like, we have to be wise and we have to understand that death is real,
Yeah.
that brokenness is real, that pain is real, and that it literally can happen within a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And so understanding that shouldn't drive us to fear and closing our
But
doors,
vigilance.
but vigilance and
Yeah.
being wise.
Yeah.
And like when we go out, and so, sorry, the next myth that I wanted to tackle was this concept of people are safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weird concept of like people are naturally good, they're naturally safe, and when somebody does something bad, it's because they're a sick, demented, twisted freak. Now, here's the thing. There are sick, demented, twisted freaks out there.
Yeah.
But most crimes in general that happen are crimes of convenience.
Yeah.
It's somebody who breaks the law because it was convenient and they wouldn't get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you look at children being put in dicey situations,
Mm-hmm.
like if they were watched, it's not like that person would snap and go abuse that child, but they were left alone.
Yeah.
They were isolated.
Yep.
And it was a crime where, yeah, they may be sick and twisted, but they also had the convenience factor.
Yeah. They were
And-
given permission almost to act in that way.
yeah, not actively, but it was that well, nobody's around.
Right.
And I think this fear, or not fear, sorry, this falsehood that people are safe. For us, it has to be, and I mean you and I as parents, our child, our son, has autism,
Yeah.
and then our daughter doesn't know a stranger. And so for us being in the ministry, we wave at people, we talk to people all the
Yeah.
time.
And so the understanding of a stranger to them is like,
It's a weird concept.
Yeah.
And we can't be afraid. I think this comes from a culture of being afraid to offend people.
oh, always.
Yeah.
Especially parents for some reason. Like,
Yeah. What is that about?
I remember when Rebecca had been born, and this is
Our
not,
daughter.
yes, our daughter had been born, and we decided to go out. It was really nice. She'd been born in the fall, but it was, for some reason, it was a really nice night.
Mm-hmm.
Took her out in the carrier. She's a newborn, right? So she's in the Moby, and if you haven't seen a Moby carrier, it basically like envelops your baby. It's like the perfect kangaroo care.
It's like a little hug.
It is. It's perfect. And like it allows mom to keep her arms free. I'm not doing an ad for Moby. I'm just saying like
But if y'all want to pay us,
just to give
we
you
will
an,
take that check.
just to give you an idea of what it looked like and how I was wrapped up. So her head was completely like in my bosom.
Yeah.
And this woman who we'd never met before, I'd
Mm-mm.
never seen her before in my life. And we had lived in this town. We've been doing ministry there. everybody knew we'd had a baby.
Yeah. Small town.
She walks up and grabs the Moby to like pull it away from Rebecca's face. And Nick, do you remember grabbing that woman's hand? And he goes, no.
I almost swatted that woman's hand. I almost hit her with the, no.
You could tell the look on her face was like very offended. But for the safety, for this vulnerable new life,
Becca
you
was
don't stick your hands in babies' faces.
Maybe.
Not even a week old. She was, I think it was, no, she was a week old. She was born the 21st. It was the 31st.
Yeah, because it was on Halloween. And it was cold. And
it was
this person had germs. And it's
like,
a newborn baby. Like, no.
We were willing to offend because the value of this life that we've been charged with protecting and safeguard, like, that was more important than this woman's feelings. And we never saw her again. She's probably still mad about it. I don't know.
Hopefully. I'm just playing.
But I do know that my daughter was safe.
Yes.
And we as parents, like, even when they're not newborns, someone walks up to your child and you see them. If you see anything as a parent that in your spirit, and you know, if you're a parent who loves your child and you care for them, you know when it's in your spirit that there's something's wrong. They're talking to my child wrong.
Something's odd about this.
We need to get rid of this fear of offending another adult, because you know what? I would rather hurt your feelings than 20 years from now have to hear from my child what you did to them. And then I would rather not have to come hurt you physically.
That's right. Yeah. And
like, I'm saving you the trouble.
I think the feigned offense, the feigned offense that happens by adults, in the way I read it, is like, well, why don't you want your kids to be friends with me?
Why do you want to be friends with a child?
Yeah, you don't need my child to affirm your personhood. Like, my child liking you has no bearing on who you are as an individual.
No,
like,
oh my goodness.
As an adult, and I've seen this with men and women, like adult men and women. Anytime, like, when Isaiah was littler, he tried to run up, so, no, come back this way, dude. No, we're not going to go. Oh, well, he's fine. No, I don't know you.
Exactly.
We don't know you. He's not fine. He needs to know to stay near us.
Yes.
And I think understanding, like, as an adult, we find our affirmation, we find our identity, we find who we are in Christ first.
Right.
We find our friendships in other adults. It doesn't matter if a child likes me or not.
Yeah, especially because just saying, kids are finicky anyway.
Fickle as all get out. They're kids.
They're going to be like, just with us, sometimes our kids don't like us because we haven't given them what they wanted.
Our own children.
Right. And we don't get booty hurt about it.
No, you can't. Because it can change. It will change in the next 3 seconds.
Yes. And
you have to do what's right.
Right. And we also have had training from the church, understanding, dealing with vulnerable communities, which children are considered a vulnerable community.
Safe boundaries.
Safe boundaries. And there is a level of grooming in which an adult who is an adult predator will seek to get affirmation, validation from children. So you have to understand, looking at it from that perspective, when you're dealing with professionals in vocational ministry who've had this training, when you throw a fit about not getting a child to like you, that sends up a red flag immediately.
Then you definitely don't need to be around kids.
Yeah. And so you're not on the children's rotation anymore for children's church, saying.
And here's what I'm going to say to adults that may be listening, that may love children in a positive, godly way.
Yeah. If
a child has an aversion to you, or a parent for some reason has some weird thing against you, whatever it is, don't push that.
Just deal with it.
Don't try to right the wrong. Don't try to win this child over to be your friend.
Yeah.
You don't need children to be your friends.
No.
It's okay. You know what? As a pastor, there have been plenty of parents that are like, normally my kid likes people. And I'm like, listen, your kid shouldn't like me. Your kid doesn't know me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We have a baby in our church right now who I love so much.
Yeah.
And we love her parents. Her parents are awesome.
Yeah.
She's in that stage.
Yeah, she don't like me
get away
at all.
from me.
It's hilarious. I think it's funny every time.
She makes some funny faces. She's like, get away.
Yeah.
And I actually, like, physically, I'm like, I'm not going to get close to you. I'm not going to mess with you, because I understand, number one, if her parents were to force her to be held by an adult,
not good. Parents
that is causing trauma to this baby. And I've seen people be like, no, I'll still hold the baby, and the baby's throwing a fit and the baby's freaking out, and I'm like, no, give that baby back to the parent.
Yeah, that baby's afraid right now. That child is scared.
Especially when the parent is standing right there. It creates a distrust.
Yeah, like, Mom, how can you let this person who I don't trust hold me? Dad, how can you let and you know what? I think adults, the ones who get offended, it's this low self-esteem of like, well, I'm not a weirdo. I'm not a freak. I'm not an
And
oddball.
that
I'm
may
not
be.
awesome, but you're also not going to babysit my child. I don't
Yeah,
care.
and my kid's not going to be the one that you need to test or prove that on.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to I don't care about your self-image when it comes to the safety of my child.
Exactly. Like, you deal with that. You and Jesus need to deal with
Hey,
that.
seek a counselor.
Right.
Do whatever you need to do.
But my kid is not your therapy.
No, and you're not going to get validation by
Yeah.
being around my child.
Yeah.
And
that was a soapbox moment.
Hey,
Sorry.
but it goes into the next point, which is people believe that weirdos that, and I keep using the phrase weirdos. I'm sorry if you're offended by the word weirdo. That's just my comment.
Like, if we're pedophiles, like, do we want to use that word?
I mean,
that's
but
the appropriate word.
Pedophiles, people that are sociopaths, people think that they can just pick them out, that they're obvious.
Yeah, like they're going to be sulking over in the corner watching the children.
Yeah, like they're rubbing their hands together, going,
or they're going to have a trench coat on at the park.
Yeah,
like,
with a van that says free candy. Like,
right.
No, people are not obvious all the time.
I'm not laughing at that image. I'm like, people do really think.
Yeah, like they're going to broadcast
and here's
it.
the thing. I have seen so many things that moms are trying to do PSAs. Moms are trying to do independent PSAs. I've seen it so much, and some of it is bogus.
Okay.
Because it'll be a mom in rural America who decided to go to the park with her kid, and somebody drives by the park slowly in a vehicle. They're like, I didn't recognize this vehicle. When you don't go to that park every day at the same time, you don't know who drives by it.
And the person's all hanging out the window looking sketchy with like a
and
half stash.
And they send out this like PSA announcement, my kid almost got abducted. I'm like, first of all,
okay, let's hear it.
You cannot, okay, so it's that like balance of healthy fear and vigilance, and then just being paranoid and thinking that anything you see that's weird is the thing.
And by weird, you mean out of your norm.
Out of your norm.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, like, evil is subversive as well.
Yes.
Evil can also be the teacher that your child has had in school for however many years, that for whatever reason,
the coach, the doctor. We've heard of all sorts of leaders.
People in authority.
Yep. People that specialize and have alone time with youth. But then when they're around other people, they seem fine.
Normal. They're great.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? So BTK, Dennis Rader.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Everybody was like, that was BTK?
Yeah.
The dude that caught the dogs?
Them, torture them, kill them.
Seemed
That's
normal.
What he did.
Just looked normal. Ted Bundy.
Completely normal
looked
person.
normal. What's crazy is watching the documentary. I didn't watch it, but I saw some memes. There was a bunch of people.
Which is the same thing as watching
Same exact thing. No, but what's funny is people watch the Ted Bundy documentary and people were like, man, Ted Bundy is a good looking guy. And I'm like,
what?
I think it was the actor that played Ted Bundy. But
okay.
What's funny is like, but they're looking at this person who's a murderer and they're like, but I mean, looked good.
Removed from his crime. I mean he's a pretty nice guy.
Take him out of the context, and we might have some. No, like a lot of times, people that are sick in the head, they don't look any different, and so you have to get out of this mindset that you're gonna see some person walk up who is all shady looking, who has like trench coats and holding a rifle, being like, "Come with me." Like normally, it's going to be very sneaky, very tactful, almost.
Yeah.
And
because they don't want to make a fuss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of times, we'll get to that in practicality.
Yeah.
But there's a scene. Remember the scene in Running Scared?
Oh my gosh, this scene seriously is the only thing I really remember from the movie Running Scared.
Yeah.
And
Paul
it
Walker,
is
Running
probably
Scared.
the best written sequence in that entire movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it is.
Sorry, my hat hit the mic.
Do you want me to tell it, or do you want to tell it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Running Scared, sorry, this is kind of a spoiler alert. You may not even know the movie.
If the movie's been out longer than like 3 weeks, you don't get spoiler alerts.
That's
like
true.
This movie's been out for years.
Yeah, so it's not even a part of the main story. It's kind of one of those really cool. What's it called?
Like
it's
a sub point.
Like a subplot. Yeah. It kind of goes there as the movie is reaching its climax, or the denouement, or what if you want to use those terms. I had to show that I know those terms.
Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah. So,
kudos.
So in it, the main character, Paul Walker, is it his son?
Yeah.
His son ends up getting separated from him, and they're in like a store parking lot. And this man and this woman, really sweet, well dressed.
Well, the son hides out in the back of a van
because he's trying to flee from these people who are trying to like kill him.
Yeah.
And this man and this woman are like, oh, they like open it up, and the mom goes, oh, Papa Bear, we just found another baby bear. And they had
two more kids.
Children in the van with them.
Yeah.
And it's a creeper van. Like it is a very weird looking van.
Yeah.
But they're like so nice and they're so gentle. And like, well, we should take him back with us.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. They take him back to their like uptown apartment.
That's right.
His condo or whatever. and it's very well kept. It's like super clean. And then they take him to a room where they have been filming kiddie porn
And murdering
and murdering
children.
children, and they have it all set up. It's so clean.
It's like covered in plastic, and
Yeah, it's
they were about to
creepy. They're about to
do this
kill
boy
these
in.
kids, and thankfully, just to, he does get rescued. The
Yeah.
kids all get rescued. The mom comes in. She is BA. She like messes these people over, but just to show you, this was just a regular couple that I mean, seriously, they looked very Midwestern and nice.
Yeah. Well, and there's this guy, just taking it out of film. There's a guy that I saw on Facebook some years ago, or yeah, he's been out for a while. I can't remember his name right now, but he was doing these social experiments with parents' permission. He would go and try to see if children would like get in his car. He would try to coerce.
Yeah,
Now
that's
again,
like the number one way that they said people used to abduct children was getting them to get in the car.
yeah, but he's done it through online stuff as well.
Okay.
And again, with parents' permission, he's not a weirdo. He's trying to teach, and he's using this as a tool to help people understand the dangers that are out there. And these weren't little bitty kids. These were like preteen and teenage kids. So kids that understand right and wrong.
Yeah.
Normally above the age of 12. They have their worldview set. They get it. And he was like the one time he met a girl online, and he told her to come outside, and got in his car, and then he started driving. And as he started driving, like two dudes jumped out from the back seat and like grabbed her.
Oh my gosh.
And like they had ski masks on, and she freaked out. And of course, they pulled over to where the parents were, and the parents were like, "How could you do this? Get in this person's car? Like, didn't you understand?" And every time I was like, "But they look normal. He looks like a normal person."
Yeah.
And the truth is that a lot of times these people that are pedophiles, that are predators, that are dangerous, they look normal. Because what is normal? The human condition is broken.
Well, and we've gotten to such a place where we're not allowed to question anybody on anything because then we might offend them.
And then you're judging. If you say someone looks shady or looks creepy, then you're judging.
If you're going against your like internal compass of what is safe, then suddenly you're offending people. And it's like we almost lost the art too. Because like those parents even being willing to subject their kids to that. Some people would be like, "That's horrible. How could you scare your kids so bad?"
You should scare your kids.
That is an art that we have lost as parents. Scaring the mess out of our...
You got to scare your kids.
I was literally scared because what I was told as a kid, and it worked. I'm not condemning anything my parents did. It worked that if you get taken, you will never see us again. And they will hurt you, and they will do bad things to you, and we won't be able to find you and help you. That was enough for me.
But it's true. Like it's scary. And people could use it like, well, you're emotionally whatever, but it's true.
It's true.
For so many people who have been abducted, that was the truth of their situation.
Yeah, they didn't have anyone. And think about all the children who are still like missing.
Yes.
We don't know like what has even happened to them. We don't know what's and like that should cause a little bit of upset in us that there are children who are like that. Honestly, that is something that keeps me vigilant. Is thinking about, I don't ever want my children to ever be in a situation where they are afraid and they know that their mommy and daddy can't help them. I don't want that for them. So I will do everything in my power.
For as long as they are children.
Yes.
As long
to
as
protect
I'm
them.
able to protect my children.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to guard and to disciple our children. And part of discipling our children is taking this conversation to our children and being like, hey, the world is broken. They need to know that people have a bend away from the Lord, that not everybody serves God, that there are people out there that don't know Christ, that don't know redemption, that don't know joy, that don't know goodness, that are broken people. And so we have to share that with our children because our kids are vulnerable.
They are like,
and so we got to do that.
And like scripture tells us over and over about safeguarding the vulnerable. Like looking after orphans and widows. That is the religion that God finds pure and faultless.
Amen.
And like not saying our kids are all orphans, but if you think about it, we all are those orphan children apart from the Father.
Well, and looking even at the Old Testament. So like throughout the Old Testament, the standards and statutes that God gave for the children of Israel was to protect the foreigner, to protect the one who has been cast aside, who has no protection. And even that phrase in the New Testament of looking after the orphans and widows is speaking specifically about those who had the least amount of protection.
Yeah.
Because if you're a widow, you didn't have a husband to protect you in case someone ran in your home, tried to snatch you up, tried to do whatever to you. You also didn't have someone to provide for you financially. If you're an orphan, same exact thing. You had no one to look out for you.
And the crazy thing is, we think, this is kind of a side note, we think that things like pedophilia and child abduction and abuse are new constructs. We think that this comes with age and with technology. And this concept of child love, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the world wants to call
brokenness,
it,
disgust,
pederasty was
Watch your
around.
mouth.
Pedernasty is what I like to call it, because it's truly
gross.
a perversion, and it was around during that time. So children that were orphaned, especially little boys, would be taken in and given a position in a household that was disgusting for them. And so this is where the church stepped in, and Paul was able to write and say, and not Paul in this letter, but in that situation, we have to care for these. The least of these. We have to do what Jesus told us to do. And when we see the vulnerable,
set the captives free.
Yes. We can step in with authority in those situations. So often, like you said, we are afraid to offend. We're afraid to get in people's business. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be nosy. No. When it comes to the vulnerable.
When it comes to the safety of children, the safety of women, the safety of
developmentally
elderly,
and physically disabled. If you see something, say something, right? That was a PSA. That came out. Even more so now, we have so many millions of people being trafficked right under our noses.
Ridiculous.
And because
even in the Midwest where we live.
Yes, because people are afraid to say, I see that doesn't seem right.
Afraid to offend.
Yes, and we have to get away from them. Maybe that's what this should have been called, afraid to offend.
But stranger danger. Remember.
Yes.
So let's give some practical tips for parents, for people who are not parents, just for our listeners. What can they do with this concept of understanding that we've gotten away from this stranger danger concept of letting people know about safety in public spheres? What can we do here?
Well, one, I think that we overlook is rehearsing scenarios with our kids. We need to teach them and coach them on what to do and to say, and really practice it with them. I mean, I saw a video from I think it was the Tallahassee police department put out a video about a program they have in their community where they actually train kids on how to defend themselves, and they bring in an adult who tries to grab them, and they teach the kid, here's what you do, get them to let go of you. And these kids are kicking, and the person has a padded suit on.
Okay.
But it's teaching kids in practice.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
You can tell your kid, we've told them you got to kick and scream and fight and bite and pull hair, but when it comes to actually physically doing it, it's just like with any other exercise. You need muscle memory to draw from.
And when that fear is pumping, if you don't have that muscle memory, then you're going to freeze up.
Yeah. And so if there is a program in your area that teaches children self-defense, then please sign up for it. I don't care how, if it costs money, find a way to fund it, because it is worth it. If there's not, maybe you're supposed to start it. Maybe your church can start it, or
community group, whatever.
Maybe you just need to take it upon yourself as a parent to practice these things with your children.
Yeah, that's good. And another thing, communities and families where it's obvious that children and parents are aware of danger will be more prepared in the event of danger. So being prepared, get yourself prepared. One of the ways to not become a target is to not look like a target.
Oh, yeah.
And so being aware, situationally
Dress
aware.
Your kids in little suits so they don't look like kids.
Teach your kids how to do Krav Maga. But the truth is, when you are situationally aware, when you are paying attention, when families have a plan, when you don't freeze up, when you know what to avoid, you're able to get away from a lot of stuff, a lot of pitfalls. You avoid the traps that you can fall into. So one of the easiest ways to, again, not look like a target is don't look like a target.
Yeah. And also, if you're doing something in a public area, know where the exits are.
Yeah.
Make sure that there are no exits where a child could just wander off.
Pay attention.
Yeah. Or an adult could wander in or out with a child. Set up, honestly, at birthday parties, it is okay to set up a sign in and a sign out situation.
Or designate an adult hey, listen, uncle, whoever, you're the biggest dude around. You stand right here, and you don't let random people come in. Don't let the kids go past you.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think situational awareness is something that's become a bad word because people say you're helicopter parenting. I remember just a quick story.
Yeah.
I remember Isaiah he wasn't even 2 yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at a football game. And he doesn't care about the football game. So he's wandering around playing with sticks and rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm probably about 10, 15 feet behind him.
Yeah.
As he walks, I'm walking and I'm just kind of watching him. And somebody came up and was like, why don't you just let that kid go play? I mean, he's a little boy, it'll be boys. And I said, no, I'm
Yeah.
going to watch my 2-year-old because one, we're at a public place. Anybody can snatch him up. Take people out of the equation.
He could get hurt.
He could get hurt.
Yeah.
What if a snake is under one of these rocks he's kicking?
Which would have been a possibility.
Yes.
At that
What if,
game.
and where we live, what if a bobcat comes out? What
or
anything,
someone driving up to pick up their kid? What if they don't
run
see
him over?
him?
Anything could happen.
Yeah.
But I think people are afraid to look like they're babying or helicopter parenting. No, you need to be aware of where your children are. You need to be aware of where other people are in regards to your children.
I remember on a Sunday morning, this was right when Isaiah was like starting to really be independent with his potty training.
Okay.
And so I knew he had gone to the bathroom.
Oh, yes.
And then I couldn't find him. I was like, I went to the men's restroom and I kind of like knocked on the door, looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's missing. I'm freaking out. And I go to the basement of the church. I circled around to the, there's a life center, a gym that we have in our church.
Yeah.
I looked in every room. I could not find him. And I was freaking out. And I'd seen 3 different adults. And I'd said to them, I'm looking for Isaiah. I can't find him.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't know where he is. And 2 of the 3 adults that I saw, that besides you, were like, oh, he's probably fine. He's
probably don't cut it.
And I was like, I have to at least know that he's okay before we start service, because I'm not going to just like there's doors unlocked.
Yeah.
And he was okay. He had wandered into the sanctuary and he had found some of his friends and he was sitting down. But like because it's always those situations where it's like, oh, 5 hours have gone by.
Yeah.
And I never assumed that anybody is responsible for my child other than us.
Amen. Yeah.
And so situational awareness is incredibly important.
Yes.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
The other thing, and we mentioned it, like, don't feel like you have to tiptoe around other people's feelings.
Yes.
Like, tell your children in front of other adults that strangers are dangerous.
Listen, if your kid goes up to someone else and you don't know them, don't be afraid to be like, I'm sorry, we don't know this person, child. This is a stranger, because you don't know. And if the person gets offended, shame on them. Because I would want, if somebody ever was like in front of me, I'm sorry, you don't know that man, don't go and start talking to him. I would be like, hey, good job, parent. Yeah, your kid doesn't know me. That's safety.
Yeah, I actually was on the phone today, and we were talking about child safety and the story of this woman who had been calling her child's name out in public and was like
trying to get their attention.
Yeah. And my dad was like, I didn't want to be weird, but I told the lady, like, hey, you probably shouldn't say your child's name out loud, because now everybody knows your child's name. I just want you to be aware.
Wow.
And she was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. And
yeah,
how many times when we're like angry at our children, or they're in trouble,
or they're 15, 20 feet away from us,
we will say their name.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like, I'm not saying you can't ever say your child's name in public, but that kind of stuff, like, make sure
just be aware.
Put more barriers in front of around that.
Yeah. So yeah, don't tiptoe around other people's feelings, and don't let someone else parent your child from under you.
Oh,
don't
this
let
is a
someone,
whole episode on its own.
It should be. We might have to come back to this, but don't let somebody tell you how you should parent in a way that makes you ashamed of how you parent, that makes you think that the way you're parenting is wrong, even though your instincts, your gut, the way that you understand right and wrong is telling you, I need to teach my child this, I need to direct them in this way. But man, I don't want this other person to say, or somebody to come along, and Lord bless them. The mothers of the church are the worst. Lord bless them. I mean, the grandmothers of the church. I can't tell you how many times, I'm trying to talk to my child and tell them not to do something that we don't think is acceptable, because we know our child, and we hey, calm down. But, or hey, Becca, don't do that. No, I need you to, oh, he's fine. She's fine. No, that's my child.
Yeah.
And they're not fine, because they're doing something against our family standard that we have to parent. So don't ever let somebody parent your child from under you.
Yeah. And practically for those of us outside of someone else's family, don't try to parent someone else's child from under them. Don't try to undermine someone's parenting. That is so hard to do at times. Yeah. Because we do, like, if we see a mother being too harsh, or we think, wow, I don't know if that's really the best thing to do. If you see abuse happening,
that's
by
one
all
thing.
means,
That's
speak
one
up.
thing.
But if you see a parent setting a boundary with their child, and you may think it's too harsh or too strict, you don't know that child's potential. You don't know what history there is or why that's there. So respect the boundaries of other parents.
Yeah. And if you have a question, take it to the parent.
Yeah.
And don't do it right there in front of the child. Don't be like,
hey, I'm just curious. Why do
hey,
you guys
it's okay,
have this
buddy.
stranger danger thing?
You can have this candy.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, you come over here to Uncle Jojo and you come sit on my lap.
Yeah,
no.
My kid's not sitting on your lap. No.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to have these conversations, look up old PSAs on YouTube. Look them up. Show your kids. Scare the mess out of them. Show them the videos of not like graphic videos, but these PSAs that teach about, hey, this person tried to snatch this kid. Watch how the kid reacts. Show them the old PSAs that help them understand from their point of view how to respond when someone tries to lure them, when someone tries to groom them. It's okay to teach your kid not to trust everybody.
Yeah, and ask them. Ask your kids, we watched the video. We had some we watched today, and we're like, okay, Isaiah, what did this child do correctly? What did they do wrong? And trying to help them identify those things for themselves, because we can tell them all we want, but we also need to trust that our kids are able to perceive of these things on their own.
Yeah. So look that up, and don't be afraid to set those boundaries.
Now, next week, you need to tune in as well, because we're going to have an awesome episode.
Always.
Once again.
Always
deliver.
Lord willing. Come on, Lord. Come with it.
Also, don't forget to sign up to be a part of our Sankofa tribe. We've talked about Sankofa Club. I didn't wear my shirt for Sankofa Club again.
That's okay.
It's an
Your
awesome
shirt's pretty cool, though.
But
it says, when words fail, music. I can't see the last word.
Music speaks. Which I was thinking about it. I was like, well, there's there's words in music.
Some music.
Anyway, it's fine. It's a cool shirt. But if you go to our website, you can actually sign up for Sankofa Club there. There's a link to it. You can do that.
Just real quick, what is Sankofa Club for those who have not heard you talk about it?
Okay, Sankofa Club is through Urban Intellectuals, and it is a way for us to educate our children on the rich history of African Americans. So to teach us that our history didn't start.
And the whole African tribe.
Yeah.
The whole African diaspora.
Our history did not start with slavery. That's kind of the whole understanding of it. And Sankofa means go back and get it. So it's like this going back to our history and receiving that and helping to enrich our children's lives. Yeah.
And you don't have to be African American to grow and to learn from this.
No.
And man, if you can teach your child, if you are Anglo descent, and you can teach your child the richness of the African culture, there's just so much. There's just wealth in giving your child that gift of knowing more about the world.
Yeah.
And so check it out, Sankofa Tribe. Go to our website and sign up.
Yes.
This has been the NixMyth podcast. We hope that you've gotten a dose of real life.
No myth. Be
blessed.